organizers and presenters can share.
Okay, did you? I think you need to uh, log out and log in by using the same temporary account as I told you before.
I'm using the same account.
It's
I'm using the same account. Doesn't show to you that I'm using the same one?
yeah, but it shows me only Amber.
Okay, I'll log out and log in again. Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, good morning.
Yes, we can hear you, doctor. Morning.
Okay, I'm just, yeah, there is a problem in sharing my screen. So if you could just give me a minute. Thank you.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning. Could you please or kindly mute yourself? Because we want to solve the problem with our first guest speaker. So please, everyone, are kindly requested to mute yourself, mute your mics, and switch off your camera. Only we need the presenters to. Okay, Amber, could you share your screen? Amber, can you hear me? I think Isra has a problem with sharing. Can you hear me, Amber?
Yes, I can.
Can you raise your voice? I mean, raise the voice, the volume of the voice. Could you share your PowerPoint, please?
Uploading. Is I'm audible?
I think you need to raise your the volume of the voice. Okay, that's fine. Okay, guys. So we're gonna start with the second guest speaker. Our first speaker, guest speaker, has some problem with sharing. We try to solve it. Okay, guys. On behalf of Professional Development English Language Center, University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Ibri, Oman, Would like to welcome you all to our Tuesday, 20 April 2021 ELT event. Today, so we have three guest speakers. So one from Pakistan, and the second one is from Saudi Arabia, and the last one is from uh, um, Egypt. So let's get close and introduce our uh, guest speaker. Amber Naveed is an educationalist and has worked in the field of education in different roles from last 23 years. She holds a degree in HR and certified trainer from Cambridge University with 13 years of hands-on experience of a master trainer. Being trained in leadership skills from University in United States of America, did leadership course from Institute of Education in London. She has worked very closely in the development of organizational and teaching skills of practitioners. She has conducted classroom, virtual, and field training to participants of education sector. In her current role, she is mentoring new hires and developing their capacity by providing training opportunities and creating career pathways. She conducts need analysis to determine development gaps among learners and teachers. She has problem-solving expertise, which facilitates her in the ongoing process of training. And here, presentation title is about the impact of digitalization on education. And I think that here she has a lot of questions and she's going to answer them all. Like, so what's the role of the teacher in the digitalization in education? How to teach with cognitive development of the child? How it is impacting the young minds, and among other questions. So the floor is yours, and please clap, clap, clap to Amber.
Thank you so much, Faisal. My name is Amber Naveed. I am.
Can you speak up, please? Can you raise your voice?
I have raised it, but I'll be a little loud then. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, now it's okay. Right, okay.
Okay. So, my name is Amber Naveed. I'm a trainer, a master trainer. As Faisal has just introduced me with my credentials in education and in the training sector. So, I'm very thankful to him that he has invited me on this platform. I hope my expertise or my learning would help you out in your classrooms. So as in this virtual meeting, it's difficult to get the introduction from everyone. So I suppose that you all are teachers of different levels. So I'm not going to talk about a particular level of tier or area. I'm going to talk about digitalization, the impact of digitalization in education. So it is not only for one area, like not for early years, not for primary levels, not for university students or for teachers. So I'm going to talk about impact of education all around. So the topic, what we are going to discuss today is the digital world in pandemic. And as you know that we are going through a pandemic, and there's so many changes in education sector from last 1 year. So we are going to discuss that. Then impact of digitalization on child's cognitive development, role of a teacher in the digital world, what we do, what we adapt, and moving forward. So these would be our concerns on which we are going to talk today. You are most welcome to get your questions ready. I'm going to answer you wherever you want me to be present. So I'll just start with a quote by Steve Jobs. Invention distinguishes between a leader and a follower. So this is very, very interesting that how innovation. What do you call innovation? Innovation is when you're going to get something out of the box, something new. So Steve Jobs says that innovation distinguishes between leader and the follower. So if you want to become a leader, you need to innovate things. And all the teachers, those who are on the platform, they all are leaders of your classrooms. When you are in the class, you are the leader of that class. And if you cannot innovate things, then how do you expect your student that they are going to innovate or they're going to think out of the box? So let's start discussions. What is digitalization in education? Digitalization in education refers to use of desktops, computers, mobile devices, the internet, the software application, and other type of digital technology to teach students of all ages. Digitalization in education refer to the use of digital technology to teach students. So what do you understand by digital technology? Like these are the tools which I explained, that there are laptops, there are computers, then there are softwares, applications. So how do the students are going to use that? This is the question. Uh, uh, so when we are going to discuss that how that these technologies are going to integrate with each other, then the child is able to understand that how he or she has to use these technology or digitalization for their own benefit. Now, the digital evaluation. When you say that the child is studying digitally, then you have to evaluate that as well. You know the process of teaching. First you teach and then you evaluate for the feedback. So evaluation is very, very important. Educational technology can foster collaboration. Not only can teachers engage with students during sessions, but students can also communicate with each other. Through online lessons and learning games, students get to work together to solve problems. So this is where we have to engage our students. This is the responsibility of the teacher, the leader, that he or she should engage his students together. How you can do that? I have observed few classes of earlier students. Earlier is the age group of 3 to 6 years. And I myself observed that they were in the class of an online classroom and they were interacting with each other as well. How did they learn? Nobody trained them. Nobody tell them that how they can use that technology for their own fun things. So when the child, if a child is a naughty child in the classroom, a face-to-face classroom, is again the same child is going to have the same fun on online classroom through his own innovation. He innovated that how can I can intervene in the classroom? How can I get connected with my fellow friends? So what did he do? He used the chat box and then he used the videos in that, and that make rest of the class connected with him. So it's like that digitally a child can engage, can involve, and it is the job of the leader to give them directions. So because if you don't give them directions, they won't be able to do get the fruitful effects of digitalization. Like for example, I'll give you one example of a young child. Same if I give you an example of a child who is in a senior level, like for example is doing his O levels or A levels. When you give online classes to that level, these students are engaged because they are focused. They know what they have to do. You don't have to tell them that this. You just have to tell them the objectives, and they will understand that how to do it. So evaluation comes side by side. Like in our face-to-face classrooms, we do evaluation after the lesson. First, we deliver the lesson, then the students give their assignments, and then we evaluate that. But on digitally, you have to evaluate the child side by side. Like when you are giving them some notes or you are giving them some presentation, the child is going to give the response on the chat box. So you have to be very, very quick in that. It's the job of the teacher to be quick and to give the reply alongside. So this is very important for us to know. How do we keep up constant evaluation? This is one question which is important for the teachers, that how to keep up constant evaluation. Constant evaluation is like when you are in the classroom, the face-to-face classroom, you are observant, you are giving them instructions, you are giving them targets. The same thing you have to do in your online classes. You need to be engaged with your each and every child, and there should be a constant evaluation to get that impact of technology. Otherwise, when in online classes, if you don't give that feedback to the child, it will become difficult. It will become difficult for the child to understand. Now, the traditional teaching. What is the traditional teaching? Traditional teaching is a classroom, then a notebook, teacher-led classrooms, and an information. This is a traditional teaching method in which you have a classroom, you have a timetable for that, you have their notebooks, and then you have their free time, then you have their teacher, the things are teacher-led. Mostly teacher are giving the informations or the instruction, and the child is observing that, and it's a traditional way of doing it. What is education today? It is digital, it is self-sufficient, independent learners, and new technologies. So now, can you understand the shift between the traditional teaching to education today is a digital teaching. So it's a change from traditional to digital teaching. So what way, or no, there is no other way but to go digital, an urgent measure. During this pandemic, there was no other way but to go digital for education for all levels. Just imagine a year back when this pandemic came. We were going through our regular classes, students were in their classrooms, teachers were giving their proper lessons and sessions. And what happened? There comes the pandemic. We were in the education sector, we don't know what to do. So what we did is that we adopted digital techniques to engage our students, to make them understand, which was a big, huge challenge for all the education sector. So all over the world, the educationists sit together and they started this online classrooms, which was initially it was a great challenge then, but then we adopted that how to do all these things and how to develop a good understanding with the student and with yourself to create that environment in which we can teach them digitally. So next is how to use digital technology as learning tool. Effective use of digital technology is driven by learning and teaching goals rather than a specific technology. The technology is not an end in itself. This involves more than just learning how to use the hardware or software. Training should also support teachers to understand how it can be used for the effective use of digitalization. Digital technology is driven by learning. When we started, how to use this technology was a challenge, and our teachers, most of the teachers were not equipped with this technological background, and like there were different language teachers, those who were not teaching English, there were other languages as well, and how to transmit their lessons to their students were a challenge, but they learned. How did they learn? They learned through their training. And how they learn? They learn by the group of students together. So it is a collaborative effort when students and the teachers work together during this pandemic, and they learn that how it can help them to develop a good technological insight of a person. Now comes the cognitive development of the child, how a child can cognitively develop himself during this online teaching. So what are the, you can say, what are the um, mm, uh, how we can make this effective for your teachers or for your students. This again, there comes the job of the teacher to keep the students engaged. And how technology engages, it increases engagement. How? The effective use of digital learning tool in classrooms can increase student engagement, help teachers improve their lesson plans, and facilitate personalized learning. It also helps students build an essential 21st century skills. We are not only going to talk about how we use this digital technology in pandemic. We're going to talk about the digital technology during the classrooms. When it was not there, children were only able to write on their notebooks. They're going to use their books, and then they come to redo that in their books and notebooks, and the teacher used to check it, and then you are going to grade them. But the digital technology increase their engagement. When in a regular classroom and the teacher goes, she's not only going to deliver her lesson on the blackboard, she is going to engage her students through PowerPoint, through videos, and she's going to give them targets to make groups, and then she can make their presentations. The children make their own presentations, then they present that to the classroom, which help them to improve their cognitive skills. Because when you give a tool to the child, he started using it, and using that tool helps the child, that and it helps them to innovate, and it helps them to make new things out of it. And sometimes children think out of the box, and they make something which is not there. Like I gave you an example that there were a few things which children were using in the regular classroom, but were not able to do in the online classrooms. But when the group was there and they were coming every day, then they make it a regular habit, and they use it different techniques, and they create different innovative ideas to engage themselves in their classroom activities. Now, what technology do? Technology can play an important role in supporting early language by creating new opportunities for interaction and engagement. Apps can give early years practitioners the opportunity to enhance vocabulary development, but also supporting children's understanding of early language concepts. So this is, here I am talking about early years. Early years mean the children, those who are of the age of 3 years till 6 years, and then 6 years and above. And how you add them? You can use number of interactive things on your screens with the students to develop their language skills. Like for example, if you have a screen in the classroom, what you can do is you can play a story on that, and you can get the children learn the vocabulary through that story, and which help them to understand that the language and the pronunciation. And like we are as we are here from all part of the world, everybody has a different pronunciation and everybody has a different language, but the technology has no language. Technology can help you in each and every language. Like for example, if you are giving them an introduction to a mathematical concept, this is the best way to do it. There are a number of games which children can enjoy, and then they can use that to develop their mathematical skills. Same, they develop their vocabulary, which helps them to develop their language skills, and then speaking skills. So all four skills can be developed through this method. There are different games which you can use for the children to develop their or to make their concepts clear. Then there are scientific games which help them to make their concepts clear. So there are different games. I'm about early years. Now I'm going to tell you about a child who is in his or her high school. A high school child has the ability to adapt things more easily than a younger child. For a younger child, a teacher has to assist all these things. But for a child who is in his O levels or in his high school, doesn't need that assistance. He or she can get the research from the internet, and then make their presentation, their group presentation, which develop their speaking
Amber,
skills.
excuse me. You have 5 minutes more, please.
Okay. So these are the things which happen. Okay. Now positive cognitive development. Now, what is positive cognitive development? Children like to play games on computer and on their consoles. And as you probably have noticed, that most of the children use their video games, and they're interested in that. And then they develop their groups together. So this helps them to socially equip with each other as well. So this is a long discussion. We can, as I have less time, so I leave the presentation with you. You can read that, how you can develop positive cognitive development in a child. A lot of beginning cognitive skills are developed during the preschool age period, as I have just discussed. This is the time when children are not home or in daycare. Digital technology for this age group is more towards developing their cognitive skills. So now come to the education 360. As you know, what does 360 mean? 360 mean all around. So technology has the ability to enhance relationship between teacher and student. Technology helps make teaching and learning more meaningful and fun. Students are also able to collaborate with their own classmates through technological applications. So this is what is education 360. Like, the teacher is involved with the student, and the student is involved with their own fellow student, and then again they are involved with the teacher. So it is a all around circle, and all other activities are integrated with each other. So it is all a 360 version of education. Now, how the teacher adapt, this is very, very important. Like, how a teacher can adapt these technological skills. An educator must be a futuristic, with a future focused, and it must have a lifelong learners. Educators must be facilitators of learning, not sages of stages. Educators must enhance instruction with the real world meaning. Educators must embrace diversity and discovery in learning. So this is how a teacher can develop. A teacher has to have a futuristic approach. She or he has to have a lifelong learner approach, like she has to learn on each and every day, and they must enhance their own abilities. How can you do that? This can only be done through trainings. One has to engage him or himself or herself in training, and from every training, if you get 1 point, will help you out for your lifelong teaching. Lifelong teaching. Now, digitalization in education is the new normal. As we say that what we have learned in this pandemic, we have learned that digitalization is the new normal in education. And how we do it, as I've told you, that the main job is of the teacher, and then comes the learner, and then there is a collaboration between each other, which is a education 360 model. And then in the end, I would like to say that let's work together. If we will work together, we'll be able to make a good community of teachers and learners and the students, which will help them understand, learn, and use this technology. It's just an example that we are using this technology and we are sitting in different areas of the world, and then again we are connecting with each other and we are communicating. So this is what digital technology is. We are part of this digital technology. What we are doing is again what digital technology is all about. So thank you so much. This was what I wanted to share with you. And
Thank you very much, Amber, for your valuable presentation. Okay, so please, if you have questions for Amber, so please try to delay them to the part of questions and answers. So please, if you have questions, you can write them down and then just postpone them to the end of the event. Now, I kindly request Hannah. So please, can you stop sharing your
Yes, I
slide?
did.
Okay. Hannah. Hannah, can you hear me? Sorry, Israa, I think you're here, Israa Othman. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Lovely. Yeah, of course. And I think that everyone can see the slides. Okay.
Yes.
So our second speaker is from Saudi Arabia, and let me introduce her. Okay, Israa Othman is the founder of Teach on Ocean for Educational Transformation with MA in Educational Leadership from University of Manchester. With over 13 years of teaching experience, Israa is a certified Cambridge trainer for teaching with digital technologies. Holds a TEFL and diploma in teacher training, CELTA from International House, London, and SET from Cambridge. With years of extensive teacher training and teaching at Princess Noura University in Saudi Arabia, she has developed her empathetic approach to training and writing to support teachers all around the world. And her topic is, I think that we need this topic. We need to consider, rethink of our assessment during this COVID-19, rethinking assessment in the new normal era. I think she's going to tell us about effective online assessment for university students. I think through infographics and diagrams, and by using these skills, if I can call them skills, the audience will understand the differences between various types of assessments, how to prevent, because we need this one, plagiarism. Also, she's going to introduce innovative ideas to substitute traditional exams as means of assessment and showcase some tools that can be used for online assessment. So welcome, Israa, and the floor is yours, and clap, clap, clap to Israa.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me today. Welcome, everyone. So today we're going to discuss online assessment in the new normal. So what we are going to do is we are going to be looking at a few objectives here. The first one, we are going to look at some definitions and how we can design online assessments and how you can prepare your students for online assessments and new technologies that you might use with them during their assessment. And we will think of new innovative ways of assessing students other than quizzes and exams. So, as you can see here, what is the purpose of and types of assessment? This is the first thing we will understand. And then we will see the process of designing an online assessment, including brainstorming, familiarizing, planning, checking, and executing. Then we'll move on to preparing your students in order to avoid plagiarism and what are the techniques that you need to apply with them before assessment. Last but not least, alternatives for tests with creative and engaging tech tools to use in assessment. So today we are going to use a new technology. I think most of you have used it by now, which is the QR codes. So I want you to have your cameras ready because I'm going to show you a few QR codes that will take you to some activities that I have shared with you and some resources that I prepared for you at the end of the session. So this is a QR code that will take you to a website called Padlet, where you can tell me about yourself, a little bit about yourself. For example, just maybe your name, your location, where are you now, what's your current role. So just scan this QR code with your camera, and it will take you right away to the website. In case you cannot scan, I'm gonna put the in the conversation in the chat box. I'm gonna put the link for you, so you can join using this link.
It's Padlet. Padlet.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's Padlet. If you found Padlet, then you're there.
I'm in.
Ma'am, I think a simple camera cannot cannot scan this code. We have to install the QR scanner. Am I right?
No, it can be from the settings of your phone. If in the settings of the phone, you can put the settings into a scanning QR code. Anyways, I've put the link in the chat box.
Okay, please, could you share the link in the chat box?
I did. I did.
Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna share it again. Can you see it now?
No, they say no link shared. I think it's not in the chat.
Okay. If you can just hold typing a little bit, because it gets lost in the chat. So yes, because I can already see the
you can stop the sharing. You'll see. I mean, it will be easily to share the links in the chat box.
Okay. So here it is. This is a very great feature that you can find on Padlet, that you can do it as an icebreaker with your students if you have students from different areas of the world, if you are trying to get to know them for the first time. So I can see that we have many guests from the Middle East, and we also have from South Africa. We have from, I guess, India, right? And Philippines. Okay. From Belgium also.
Yeah, the link is
from Egypt. Yes. Very good.
Saudi Arabia.
Oman. Okay. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Okay. So, getting back to our presentation. Unfortunately, Microsoft Teams is a bit slow when it comes to sharing, screen sharing, but I'll try to be as fast as possible. Okay. So we have 2 more QR codes left. Promise. It's not going to be a lot. Okay. Now, moving on in our presentation. Now, it's important to take a look at the impact of COVID on education. According to recent studies that and surveys that are conducted in 118 ministries of education participating in it worldwide. It shows that the respondents of these countries postponed or rescheduled high stakes examinations. 55% of the 118 countries did that. 30% of the respondent countries planning to assess primary students when schools reopen in the countries where they had to hold their learning process face to face. And 10%, more than 10% of the respondent countries reported having canceled their examinations altogether. So as you can see here, that this is by the way, a UNESCO survey. So this is something that is an accredited survey that was done worldwide. So you can see the impact of COVID on students' assessments. Now, this shows the importance of assessment, and it shows the importance of defining the purpose of assessment when you do it. Now, you have three purposes of assessment: either assessment as learning, which means that when the process of assessment itself is teaching students skills, or you are doing an assessment of learning, which means that you want to know what the students can do with the information that you have given them throughout the unit or throughout the semester, and the assessment for learning, which means what the teacher should do for their students in order to make them improve. Then we have to differentiate between the purpose of assessment and the types of assessment. Now, the types of assessment here, it depends on the stage where you do the assessment during the student's learning. So you have the diagnostic assessment, the assessment that you do to your students before you start a new lesson. Let's say you want to teach them the present simple tense for the first time, and you want to know how many students of yours already know about it, okay, before you start explaining the lesson. And then you have the formative assessment, the assessment that you do during the lesson to make sure that your students are on track and following your learning goals. And then you have the summative assessment, which is after the learning process, after you finish your unit or after you finish your learning goals, and you want to make sure that your students, or you want to see how much information or how much knowledge did your students get from your teaching. Now, how do you assess your students now during online classes, or if you have blended settings, depends on each country, of course. So this is another QR code where I want you to think for a minute about your students and how you assess their learning right now. What are the tools that you use to assess your students? Are they quizzes, exams? Are you using certain applications like Google Forms, for example, or maybe Quizlet or Kahoot or whatever? Do you assess them orally or written? So I want you to think of all the types of assessment that you did with your students throughout the year and show me in this QR code what exactly do you do or how do you assess your students. Again, I'm going to share the link on the chat box, but please try to slow down typing, okay? So you can all access the link.
Ma'am, I have shared your link.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Now, if it's difficult for you to access the link, you can simply try and type it in the chat box. But this is what you will see when you get the link. Okay, perfect. So as you can see now, that the most common uses or the most common way of assessing your students is forms and Quizlets, because this one is the one that has the biggest font. So this means that you are using either Google Forms or you are using Quizlet app, okay? Mostly during your students assessment. Okay, perfect. Now, moving back to our presentation. Okay, so let's take a look at online assessment in general and see the opportunities and concerns. Many of us as teachers or coordinators sometimes believe that it might not be an opportunity as much as it's a concern. But if we look at the opportunities, we can see here that it's accessible, it's highly flexible, you can give detailed feedback instead of the few seconds that you use in classroom for every students to give feedback. And it also provides collaborative learning. But when it comes to concerns, we have actually teachers' concerns and we have also students' concerns. Some students also are concerned about online assessment. So when it comes to teachers' concerns, you can see the academic integrity, high workload, student isolation, and technical issues. And this was actually found during one of the researches conducted by Amilang, Krieger, and Grosner in 2011. For students, they might have some concerns regarding equity and fairness, regarding technical issues like using new applications, or they might have problems accessing the application itself. Different technical abilities. Not all students are tech literate equally. And less opportunity to clarify assignment guidelines. So if they have a problem or they are facing a problem during their assessment, they might not be able to reach their teacher on the spot in order to help them or support them solve this issue. But we can actually prevent all these concerns if we know or understand how to design online assessment properly. Now, designing online assessment has 4 steps. The first step is to brainstorm. As a teacher, you need to define the concerns that you might face during online assessment, and then translate your face-to-face assessment into online. How you were assessing your students in class and translated into online assessment. Then familiarize. When you are using new technologies, you have to try it first. You have to list the possible issues that students may face and prepare for it whenever possible. Then the planning step, where you need to weigh assessment, like how much does this assessment present from the overall or the total assessment mark of your students. Define the rubric and share it with your students. Find the appropriate app for this. And of course, you do this using the checklist for assessment appropriacy that I'll share with you in a few. The last thing is, once you have settled upon the assessment tool that you will use, the online assessment tool, you have to perform a platform checklist and check if this platform can pass the checklist that you have. And of course, you need to weigh the risk of cheating or plagiarism that may occur on that website or application. So if we look quickly at the brainstorming, you need to have your own concerns written down and how you should address them. Then you need to translate your face-to-face assessment into online. So for example, if you have here, let's say you used to assess your students' grammatical skills, for example, using a paper and a pen or a paper quiz. Then online, you might use maybe Quizlet or Quizzes or something. So what is the rationale for change or no change? Let's say it's going to be difficult for you to check their work if they are doing it using pen or pencil during your online classes. So this would be the rationale for change or no change. The timeline or the due dates. What are the due dates that you used to do for your students for such quiz, face-to-face versus online? Feedback. How are you going to provide feedback to your students? How you used to do it face-to-face versus how you're going to do it online. And the submission method. How will your students submit their answers to you? Face-to-face versus online. Okay? So this is a very important mode of translation that you need to have in mind when you are designing your online assessment. Planning. Another table that you can use, for example, let's say you want to assess their present simple, their knowledge of the present simple. So what is your associated learning outcome, which will be, for example, using the tense with singular and plural subjects? Is this a formative or a summative assessment, and what is its weight from the total assessment mark of your students? And what will be the learning technology that you will use and the assessment instrument? Is it a rubric or an answer key that you will provide your students with? If you use this table to plan your assessment for the whole semester, it will be much easier for you to get back to as a reference whenever you need to make an assessment or an online assessment for your students. Now, the checklist is you need to ask yourself, does this assessment plan address all the course outcomes? Does the weighing add up to 100? Is there a balance of formative and summative assessment? Is there a variety of assessment methods? And is this plan feasible or practical? Now, the next thing is the assessment platform checklist. Using the platform, should I use Quizlet or Quizzes or Kahoot? So you need to review the following. Does this assessment platform meet all the needs of my assessment? How comfortable do I feel using the platforms? Is the platform free for students? Is it secure? It doesn't allow, for example, data sharing of your students. Is there a risk of students cheating or plagiarizing? So those are the 4 steps of designing your online assessment as a teacher. Now it comes the role for your students, how to prepare your students for online assessment. The first thing you need to look at is let them stop using pens during their assessment. Use keyboard instead of writing. Let them practice as much as possible during their assignments before the formal assessment so that they would be familiar or more comfortable while they are typing for their exams. You need to also use online assignments before the formal assessment so that students can be able to see the difference between the pen and paper exercises versus the online exercises. So solving matches with a mouse, for example, instead of pen and paper. Try to not to change your platform a lot. If you are using a certain platform, try to prepare your students to use it before their official assessment, and try to make them or to ensure that they use the same devices as well. Now, the most important part, which is preventing cheating and plagiarism. The first thing you do is to make sure of your students' academic integrity. And this can be done by, for example, an e-contract that you have your students sign that it shows the consequences of violations. Exam timing. Instead of having long time for exams, I can see that there in some schools and institutes, they would set like 5 hours for students to finish their exams. Why? Let's make it a shorter time. Try to make it short and frequent instead of making one exam that is long with a long window as well for the students to answer. Exam versions. Try to have more than one version for the same exam so that you can avoid plagiarism, or the students would not copy and paste their answers and send them to their colleagues. And of course, authenticity. Try not to repeat the questions. Try to make your questions as creative as possible, trying to target the higher order thinking skills instead of the lower order thinking skills. This would be much better, and it would allow the students to use their creative part or their creative side to answer their questions instead of the regular multiple choice questions or the extremely direct questions. Now, what are the alternatives for regular assessment for exams and quizzes? You can do project-based assessment. For example, you can ask your students to create slideshows or videos for you. They can have podcasts, case studies, and experimentation. So, for example, you can ask your student, instead of telling them what is the rule for present simple tense or what is the rule for the future simple tense, ask them to plan a weekend. Ask them to make a marketing campaign for a product. Ask them to evaluate a certain brochure that you provide them with. So you are actually assessing their language and the knowledge that they have, but in a creative way other than multiple choice and matching. Peer assessment and group work. You can have discussion boards on the learning management system that you have or your school provide. If you don't, there are various alternatives that I'll share with you right now, and they are completely free. You can have breakout rooms during the sessions that you have with them. You can make them share a debate. You can pick a topic and you can make them debate by putting them into two teams, and they can have a debate regarding a certain topic. And last but not least, e-portfolios and presentations. E-portfolios is one of the great ways that actually assess students' understanding, and if your students are old enough, they can do it for themselves. They can create their own portfolios. So you are also giving your learner or supporting your learners' autonomous learning. So they will find out what are the parts of their learning that they want to share with you and their colleagues, and that they want you as a teacher to assess them on. So, reliable assessment tools that you can also find free. Kahoot, of course, is very interactive and collaborative. Google Forms as well. You can use it also for self-assessment surveys, so students can use it to assess themselves and assess their own learning. Quizzes is a great tool, and it can be used for younger students because it has those animations and sounds and stuff, so it's quite interesting. You can use it for formative and summative assessments. YouTube. Have you ever used YouTube with your students before? You can use it for peer assessment for speaking. You can, for example, either you can create a private YouTube channel for free for your students, and they can actually start posting their videos on it, and then they can have peer assessment. Or you can simply show them video clips from YouTube, and they can start their own debate about it, or they can start a discussion about it online or something, where from this discussion you can assess your students. I don't know if you know about this or not. This is called MindMeister. MindMeister is a great application that is used for mind mapping. You can also use it with your students when they plan their activities, or also you can use it for brainstorming and online discussions. There is a great add-on on Google Slides if you're using Google Slides with your students, which is called Pear Deck. Pear Deck is amazing for formative assessment, where you have ready-made quizzes and questions for your students. Now, when it comes to e-portfolios, e-portfolio is simply a process where you create it, or your student can create it for him or herself, that helps reflect on their learning and also discover their interests. At the end, you will have a product that you can show to your employers, professors, or admissions committees, and so on. So an e-portfolio is not only limited to students. You can do it for yourself as a teacher, for your coordinators, or for your school or university management. The e-portfolio process has three main parts: select, reflect, and publish. When you select, you need to focus on the assignments or your student's assignment that shows the purpose. Why am I sharing this with my teacher? Who is the audience? Who will look at it? And the content. Is the content suitable? Is it presentable? Okay. And then reflect. So this is your turn here as a teacher, okay, where you can assess the student work, and you can ask your students to reflect upon their work that they have chosen in their e-portfolios. So it shows, it forms a channel of communication between you and your student. And at the end, you publish. The e-portfolios can be available and can be shared with students, so the students can see each other's work, and with the management. So you can show it to your academic managers, you can also show it to university management, and so on. So this is the beauty of e-portfolios. E-portfolios can be done by various ways, but the most popular ways are either through PowerPoints, if you want to do it locally on your computer, or the students does it locally on their computers, and once it's done, they can share it with you via email or via the learning management system like Blackboard or something that you use with your students. Or it can be done on Google Sites. Now, Google Sites is also free of charge. As long as you have a Gmail, you can use Google Sites, okay? And if you want to know how to use or how to create an e-portfolio, this QR code will take you to another file that will show you step by step how to create an e-portfolio. I wish we had the time to show you that, because to be honest, e-portfolios actually is a separate workshop. I do it on separately as a standalone workshop. Okay, but this is something that you can use as a starter, okay? And maybe later on, if you would like, maybe we can plan for another workshop dedicated only for e-portfolios and how to create them. Okay, I'm gonna share with you the link for this guide in a few seconds. Okay.
Israa, can you hear me?
Yes.
You still have, 5 minutes left, please.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So just 1 second. I want to share with you the link. I'm going to share it with you after we finish. Actually, before we finish, I want to show you a sample of a presentation portfolio, how a PowerPoint or how an e-portfolio on PowerPoint looks like. So I'm going to stop sharing now here and reshare with you. Okay. So this is an e-portfolio PowerPoint. You can find it, by the way, on SlideShare. It's a sample that you can see how it looks like. So this is for a student with a bachelor degree in psychology. Okay, so she starts first by giving her personal statement. And then if there is some sort of resume, of course, for your students, it's not much of a resume as much as it's the work that they've done so far in their university. Maybe if they have volunteer work that they can be assessed for, depends on how you assess your students at your university. Then you can see the educational skills or achievements. And now here you can see that he or she puts the awards or the projects that she has shared or participated at. Okay, reflection upon her skills, the cognitive abilities, the communication skills, and so on. Examples of completed work. For example, she has participated in a case study, internet addiction, substance prevention, program flyer, ethics and psychology. So you can see here that he or she shows the work that of the research that she has participated at, and what is his or her future in learning, or what she thinks about herself, or where she sees herself in the future. Okay. Now let's take a look at another example, which is a website portfolio on Google Sites. Now, this is a student that has created an e-portfolio for herself. This is, for example, for physics, his physics class, with photos, the experiments, and the conclusion from this one. Okay, unit 1 or unit 2. And this can be done completely free. And as I said, if your students are, most of you are university lecturers, so university students will be able to do this on their own if you ask them to do it. It also provokes the ongoing assessment rather than just counting on quizzes or exams. This is the beauty of e-portfolios. So whenever they are sharing, or whenever they are working on any kind of projects, not only quizzes or tests, they can include it in this e-portfolio, so you can assess your students based upon it at the end of the semester. So this is an idea that you can implement the next semester with your students, because the e-portfolio is some sort of building blocks, something that you build upon, okay, when you from the beginning of the semester. So I would highly recommend that you can do it with your students from the beginning of the year. Okay. Now I'm going to share with you the link of the guide, the step-by-step guide that you can use. Okay. It's a file on Google Drive. It's free for you to download and save at any time. So again, I'm going to share the link for you in...
I have shared it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So this is how you can create e-portfolios with the Google site. Okay. Created by Chromebook Academy, a facilitator in the academy. Okay. And you can see here that it takes you step by step on how you can do it, with a quick definition of the portfolios and the contents of the portfolios, what should be in an e-portfolio. And this is, of course, very important to share with your students from the beginning, so they won't be just putting any work that they are doing during the year. You have to be specific with your students on the type of work that you will assess them upon, that needs to be included in the e-portfolio. Okay. So thank you very much for listening. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. You can send me an email if you want. Of course, the checklists and the tables that I shared with you earlier during your designing the online assessment, they are way bigger than this, but there's no time or space to share them all. So if you're interested in taking the full list, or having the full list of checklists, and tables that I've shared earlier in designing online assessment, feel free to send me an email. This is my email address. Or you can scan these QR codes to connect with me via Teachogen's page on Facebook or website. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Isra, for your wonderful, fabulous, and very informative session. Okay, please, if you have questions for Isra, please postpone them to the part of questions and answers. Now we'll move to our third speaker. The speaker, I think Nourein is here. Nourein, could you hear me?
Sir, may I ask a question?
No, just please delay your question to the part of questions and answers. Now we have our third speaker.
Oh, I see. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
thank you very much. Nourein, could you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, please, can you share your slides, please?
Yeah, sure.
Please, kindly requested to switch off your camera, please. I'm talking about the other participants. Please try to mute your mics and postpone your questions to the after our third speaker finishes. Okay. Okay. Could you please share your PowerPoint, please?
Yes, I am. Okay, I'm sharing it now. Can you see it?
Yes. Okay. Let me introduce our guest speaker from Egypt. Nourein Hussein is an academic English instructor at the Nile University, Egypt. She has been working as an English university level lecturer since 2009. She is CELTA certified and an MA candidate in applied linguistics. Her research is combining synchronous CMC, computer mediated communication tools, as online written chat. Wow, I love it. In EFL teaching and learning. And her presentation, her topic will be about online classroom management. I think she's going to tell us about how to manage students online, because it might be a bit difficult and no easy task for us as teachers to manage our students online. What are the challenges of virtual classroom management? She's going also to tell us about some traditional management strategies and approaches. And also she is going to suggest some helpful tips for virtual classroom management that can work for both groups and individual tasks. So the floor is yours, and the mic is yours, Nourein, and clap, clap, clap to her.
Thank you so much, Mr. Faisal. Hello, everybody. Good morning and Ramadan Kareem. Thank you very much for attending, and I hope my session will be fruitful to you. Inshallah, you'll benefit from it. I hope so. Okay, so this is me as Mr. Faisal has introduced me. Okay. Our agenda now, we are talking about classroom management. What is classroom management? The challenges we face as teachers, some tips to manage your class very effectively. Okay, and then if you have any questions, you can, or if you have any comments, actually, you can use the chat box for this. First, which picture do you like? We have here two pictures. So which one do you like the most and why? So you can put this, you can put your opinion in the chat box.
Bottom.
Mr. Faisal, I can't see the chats actually. So
Actually, you can stop sharing. You can stop sharing, and you will see.
okay.
I think it
All
comes
right.
up to you like pops up. But I think if you stop sharing, you can see.
Yes, I can see.
Mostly they prefer. I mean, they like the number 2.
Mr. Faisal, can you please request those three guests to switch off their cameras because we can't see it properly.
You can switch off your camera, and then now I
Yes,
think
sure.
that you stop sharing. Can you see the chat box now? What's written? Can you follow the chat box?
Yes, I can see it. Yes, I can.
Okay, if you want to see in the chat box, I think it's preferred to stop sharing and then you can follow. But if you want to ask questions, but just to remind you, you have 30 minutes for your
All
presentation.
right. So, so all of you, most of you actually, you like the second one. Okay, the second picture because it creates enjoyable learning experience. Very good. All right. So, what is management? What do you think? Management is what? I want you to write in the chat box.
Excuse me, we don't see anything projected on the screen.
She stopped
Okay.
sharing because she's asking
Uh,
a question and she wants to see to follow the chat box.
mhm.
She will share the slides, but sometimes she stops sharing and because she asks question and she wants to follow.
Meantime, there are two people
Okay.
whose cameras are on right now. We don't know why they cannot put that off. They should put that off.
Okay. So, can you see now? Okay. Here we go. So all of you, you like the most. What you like the most is the second picture. All right. So what is the difference, do you think, between the first and the second? So the difference here is in what? In management. What do you think management is? Okay. What is classroom management? So is it the order the teacher establishes in the classroom, or is it the way the teacher reacts and behaves in classroom? Actually, because we're running out of time, so I don't have the time to elicit your answers. So you can also use the chat box to write. Anyway, classroom management is the process of ensuring that lessons run smoothly. Okay, it's also the prevention of disruptive behavior. So yeah, I have to be well prepared. I have to prepare my lesson very well, the stages of lessons, and also to deal with students, especially with those disruptive students or distracting students, actually. All right. So also the techniques we use to engage students and to keep them engaged. So this is really important. Okay. So here for me, it's the key for classroom management is not just managing student behavior, but it's very important that we are managing our behavior as well in class. How the way we are dealing with students in class, the way we deliver the content. We all have challenges online in online classrooms. So the most apparent one, okay, is the internet connection. Poor internet connection for students. Okay, lack of interaction, less monitoring. We cannot monitor students while they are performing tasks. Also, the time management. And we have some distractors like the noise, people, use of cell phones. So not only we are distracted by noise and people around us, but also students. Okay, students maybe they are using their cell phones, they're exchanging messages, and they're doing some chats. So online management tips, we are going to tackle main uh, three main parameters. Okay, We will tackle the course management, how we will manage the course itself, introduce it, the teacher-student relationship, and using tools, online tools. And here I'm not only saying online, but I will say offline tools as well. The course management, number one, set your rules. Of course, when from the very beginning, from the very first lecture, I have to set my rules, the do's and the don'ts. So they will be clear for my students to follow. So here, it's important to establish the class rules, your rules, as well as the university or the institution rules. Okay. Also, you have to share them the rubrics if there are any rubrics for participation, for presentations, for anything. You have to show them important dates. Okay. And also you have to explain the reward system that you will use. Of course, there will be a reward system, huh? All right, we will not killing them. All of the rules need to be simple. They need to be clear. They need to be specific. So here are the do's and the don'ts that I use in my class. These are my the rules of my class. Here I introduce it to you, like here. Okay, it's about the class etiquette. So here, act politely, switch off your phones, don't turn your camera, mute yourselves, use the raise hand feature if you have a question, and so on. Okay, sit in a quiet place, no drinks, no foods while you are in the lecture, no Arabic, and this is something that we are all suffering from. That students are speaking Arabic in class. So while in the face-to-face, I used to make them pay a fine for the word. So, for example, if they are saying one word in Arabic, they will pay you just £1 or one coin, for instance. Of course, no private chats, nothing, no showing up late, and so on. So you can set your rules. You can make them clear to students from the very beginning. Number two, establish a routine. And this is really important when you're establishing your routine for your lectures and for your lessons. So the students will know that you will start with, for example, start with taking the attendance or start with an icebreaker. And then you're moving to something else. And then you're ending up your lecture with, for example, announcements or for checking or for giving assignments or something like that. So for me, it's very important to make students aware of the timing of the class. So for example, if it is 8:30 class, I will be there at 8:35. So I'll give them just 5 minutes if they have bad internet connection or any problem, so they can manage it within the 5 minutes. All right, so the timing of class, the icebreakers are very important. We will deal with it later. Taking attendance, checking assignments, and so on. So it has to be a routine. All right. And also the routine at the end. So for example, as for me, I give them the assignments and I'm sure that they can get the assignment from Moodle, for example, and to inform them of the due date. So this is really important for me. Number three, the content itself. So management is not only about the course content, but it's also about how to deliver this content to students. So this is really, really important. So here it has to be personalized. Why personalized? Because some people or some students, they get distracted easily, they get bored easily, they're not interested in the content of your course because it is somehow abstract, somehow theoretical. It's not related to you as a teacher, it's not related to them as students, not related to our lives. So it's very important when you are teaching something, you have to personalize it, especially in the lead-in. Okay, like here, when I teach past simple tense, I used to refer to me, to my experience. Like when I woke up this morning, I found that okay. So like when I woke up this morning, I had my breakfast, I dressed up, and then I went to to the street. I didn't find the bus, okay, to take, so I was late. So here I'm trying to get it into my context, get the lesson or the content into my context itself, and relating to the content to real life events, to current events, and this is really important also. So, for example, when I gave them the last semester at the very beginning of the coronavirus, I gave them writing assignment on a cause and effect essay to write cause and effect, and I picked the topic of coronavirus or COVID-19 to write the causes and effects of this this pandemic. So here I related to their real life. So they will reflect easily upon this topic. They will talk easily. And also, this week I have just given them a reading assignment about the COVID-19 vaccines. Okay, so it's also related to their lives. So they can speak up easily and freely. Number 3, when you are setting a task, it's very important to give clear instructions. The good instructions, they have to be short, they have to be simple, precise, repeated, and demonstrated. So here, when I'm going to give you to write an assignment, to write, for example, writing an essay about online learning, okay? Compare and contrast essay about online learning and face-to-face learning, okay? Online classes and face-to-face classes. So here, what you're gonna do, you'll write a 5-paragraph essay, okay? Intro, 3 body, and a conclusion. So here I'm giving clear instructions, okay? So you will write it individually, not in pair work, not as a group work, no, individually. You will write an outline first. So here I'm giving clear and precise instructions. This is really important. So to keep students on track. Number 4, actually, checking instructions or the ICQs. The ICQs are very important, and most of the teachers are forget them actually. So also some people or some students, they don't know what to do. It's very important to check their understanding of the instructions, okay, by asking them what are the tasks you will do, why I'm giving you this, because blah blah blah. So here you have to ask not all students, but you have to choose randomly, okay? You have to choose them randomly in order to ask them whether they understand the instructions or not, so as to perform the task effectively. Setting a time limit for tasks. This is really, really important because in virtual learning or virtual classes, timing is they're taking much time than in real classes. Okay, so I have to allocate the time, special time for each task. So I'm giving, like here now, I'm giving just 30 minutes to deliver my session. Okay, so here I'm going to tackle course management in 5 minutes, and this in 5, and so on. So this is really important to allocate time, specific time, and to make students aware that they have specific time, the time limit, or we call it signposting. Number 5, okay, or number 6, I believe, teacher talking time. I don't like to talk all the time. I like students to talk all the time. This is really important, to decrease your talking and increase students' talk. How can we do this? By brainstorming, by eliciting, by role plays, giving them special tasks for students to perform it in a orally, or I like the speak up activities most of the time actually. Number 6, checking students' understanding or the CCQs. When I give them something, a content, when I give them a content or something, I have to check their understanding of this content. Okay. So I ask them some yes/no questions, closed-ended questions, okay, or open-ended questions. Like here, this one, when I am teaching them present perfect tense. Okay, Mark has been to Turkey. So in order to understand the meaning of the usage of the present perfect tense, I ask these questions. Did he go to Turkey in the past? They say yes. Is he in Turkey now? They say no. Okay. It's good to have a mixture of yes, no, close-ended and open-ended questions while you are checking their understanding. Okay. And here it's very important that the questions cannot address the target, the target content that you are giving them. So here I cannot say, has Mark been to Turkey in the past? No. I cannot use the thing that I'm giving them to check their understanding. No, I'm getting the meaning for this. This is meaning questions. We move to the teacher-student relationship. As I said from the very beginning, it's not only about to set orders and rules in class, but also it is about the relationship between teacher and student in class. Okay, so it's very important to build good rapport with your students. Okay, at any age, at any level you're teaching. So it's very important. Try to be friendly.
Excuse me, Nourein, sorry to interfere. You have 5 minutes, please.
5 minutes, really? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So here it's very important to be friendly and firm at the same time. Okay, it's very important to make this. With this will make your students more engaged and more interested in your classes. All right. We can use icebreakers for this. Okay, like the show and tell. Show and tell. You can use it in Microsoft Teams or in Zoom or whatever. You ask everyone to get something from their home that is special to him or her, and you ask them why this is a kind of special thing. Another icebreaker to truth and a lie. This is I believe this one is common and we use it all the time. All right, teacher as a facilitator. You have to grade your language according to the level you're giving. So, for example, I cannot give sophisticated language to my students if they're beginners. No, I have to give them simple vocab. Try to make things easier for them as structure and I have to make clear pronunciation. All right. Responding to questions. It's very important to be open to questions, to listen to their questions and do not interrupt, to show interest, to motivate them to ask all the time. Dealing with discipline issues. This is really important because when someone misbehaves in your class, you try to be like aggressive. No, don't be aggressive. Try to be positive and try to have a polite attitude with him. Okay, it's very important that you. If I have a student who misbehaves, after the class I get him. Okay, by the end of the class I call his name and I want to see him privately. So I will talk to him, and they listen. Really, they listen and they accept if you have good rapport with them. The rewarding system, this is really important to give a positive feedback. Okay, you can motivate them with things like you are the top achievers, you are the leaders of teams. Always I give a positive feedback by the end of my session by thanking those who participated in my session. Okay. And also sometimes if I have this flexibility of the grading system, I can give a bonus to students who work really hard or do extra presentations or extra activities. How can we use online tools? The first thing is the breakout rooms. This is really important. When you are dividing your students, okay, you have assigning, dividing them into groups, assigning a task for them. So breakout rooms is a real good feature for you to use as teachers, especially with small size classes. Use of chat box like the one you said you were using right now, okay, for eliciting, for brainstorming, for motivating them to ask questions, for voting. So, okay, do you like this answer? Who likes this answer? So they are start to raise their hands up. Screen sharing. It's very important not to make yourself authoritative, like in screen sharing or sharing your screen. No, give students the opportunity to share their screen as well if they have a presentation, if they have an idea and they want to talk about. So they will be able to take part in the floor. Number 4, using Padlet. This is one thing I really like the most, okay, where students can make post or comment. And this is I use in the reading part before a class discussion. I give them a question: do you like this passage or not? Why and why not? And they start posting their comments, and it's really interesting for them. And by this, we reached the end of my presentation, and here is, I will share now with you a link to post your feedback, okay, or to post anything on Padlet. I have just made Padlet for you. If you have anything to say, if you have anything to ask about, just feel free to send me an email. This is my email. And thank you for being there. And I hope I'm not a real pain in the neck presenter. Thank you so much. Now I will write the Padlet. I will share with you the Padlet link. Okay, so we can practice.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nourein, for your informative presentation. Now, I kindly request, can you stop sharing, please?
Yes, sure.
Kindly request all 3 speakers, you can show yourself. Okay, now it's the time for questions, questions. Now I'm going to share the link for attendance and feedback. But please, if you have questions, please raise your hand, and then the speakers will see your hands up, so you can open your mic and speak to the speaker and ask your question. Okay, Israa, are you here? Israa, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Nourein is here and Ibri is here. Okay, if
yes,
you can switch on your camera if you want. So can you see the hands up, please?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to call the names, or I'm going to call? I think let's start with Aya. Aya, just to make things organized, please. I already shared the link, but I'm going to ask Aya. Aya, mute yourself, please, and address your question to one of the speakers. I don't know, or to all of them. Aya.
Okay. I really at first want to thank all the speakers for their informative sessions. But my question is regarding classroom management. I want to ask, does classroom management differ while we are dealing with EFL classroom, not only in the communication language, I mean the other things like motivation, discipline, task transitions, and for example, asking questions during the class. Does it differ in EFL classes other than the other school subjects or the teachers of any other subject? That's my question. And thank you.
I think this one is related to Nourein, I think. Nourein?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I believe each subject. Yeah, well, what I'm talking about is the EFL teaching and EFL class management. Okay, whether if you are teaching general English, academic English, business English, so they are all under the umbrella of EFL teaching. So yes, I believe that we have these strategies can be applied to all English courses that you're teaching.
Okay, Laura. Can you hear me? I think that you can see the hands, right? Our speakers.
Yes.
Okay. Laura, can you hear me? Laura, could you please mute yourself, please? Unmute yourself, please. Laura, please, guys, if you have problem with your mic, so you can write your question in the chat box. I think that all our presenters can follow your questions. You can write the questions in the chat box. Okay, I think Lajaz, Muhammad, Khan.
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I would like to say thank you everyone for such nice talks. My question is to Ms. Amber Naveed, because you presented a lecture on impact of digitalization on education. So, do you think that technology-based learning can ruin the child's behavior towards solving problems? For instance, in our times, we were trained to do all calculations using our knowledge, our brain, pen and paper. But currently we have softwares similar to calculators, etc. So the children, they do not analyze problems using their brains. Instead, they just use the applications to solve these problems. Similarly, in English, we have many applications which can correct your grammar, spellings, etc. automatically. And the children, they do not need to memorize the spellings or understand the basics of grammar. So I want to know your views that do you think that technology-based learning is in fact helping the children, or in the same time it's also destroying some of the aspects? Thank you.
Can you hear me? My take on your question is like, what are you creating? You are making these students or your children for the next generation. You are not making them learn for your previous generation. I understand your point that when you say that this technology has given them so many loopholes, which you say in simple words, that they can do the calculations, they can get the spell correct and all. But what are you making them for? Do you think they are going to use their notebooks in their future life? What are they going to use? They're going to use these tools. So we have to equip our child with these tools. So if they are going to equip this, it does not mean that they're not going to learn mathematical skills or their language skills. Here comes the responsibility and the role of the teacher, that how much access she or he gives to the child. Like for example, for your maths question, like that you say that the children can use can do calculation on the calculators, or so how can a child do the calculation if he does not know the method? So one thing was that. Then there was a question that you said that the children are not engaged in education as they used to be. To some extent, I do agree with you that yes, with this tool, the children are more engaged, cognate for a specific time. They are more focused now. And with these tools, they are going to learn more quickly. And memorization is not what we are looking for. We don't want our children to memorize things. We want them to understand the concept and then deliver. So I think my answer would be this, that we have to train them with these. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Please.
Okay, I think Anwar, right? Anwar, because I'm following in queue. I'm following the names in queues. Just if you allow me.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Okay, just let me go back to Laura. Okay, thank you very much for understanding. Laura, are you back? Are you here? Could you hear me, Laura? Okay, Saidi. Could you please unmute your mic, Said, and raise your question? Okay, lovely.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for the great presenters, for the efforts, and we really enjoyed it. As well, thank you to the hosting college for the efforts, and we appreciate your efforts. My question is about the assessment, and I'm asking, it's not a question more than a recommendation. What is the name of any like application suitable to be used for examination, to conduct examination regarding type of exam for the two categories, for the school category and for the higher institute category? Thank you very much.
I think Israa to answer.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
here. Yes. Yeah. Well, when it comes to online examinations, if you want to do it large scale, like if you're talking about a whole university or a whole college, then in this case, you need something to be safe, and you need something to be reliable. Okay. So we're not talking about a small scale like a group of students in a classroom or something. So in this case, the university needs to look at paid options to be able to do that on large scale, and at the same time to have high security degree for their students' information, and to be also something that is reliable if you're going to do something for maybe automatic marking or stuff like that. So there are various options actually, but the thing is, if you are looking at a university scale, the best thing to do is to use a learning management system that would actually have this option. Now, learning management systems are a lot. One of them, one of the famous ones is Blackboard, and there is also Classera for schools, and there is a new one actually that is emerging in the market now from Europe. And by the way, Teaching is an official reseller for it here, which is Cluster. In these learning management systems, teachers can upload question banks. I'm talking about Cluster. I'm not sure about the others, but I'm telling you the options. Those are reliable, trustworthy. Of course, they are you get these services for certain fees. They allow teachers to upload their question banks. It allows them to create random exams, which means that you can do more than one version, like I told you earlier, which is one of the things that you can use to avoid plagiarism. And this can be done very easily. And it can also help you in autocorrection. So if you are using multiple choice, true or false, or stuff like that, so it can also provide you with this option where they can auto correct the exams for you. Now, when it comes to these options, this is what I highly recommend for large scale examinations or assessment for schools and universities. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you, Israa. Thank you. Now let's go to Sayed, I think, if I'm right. Sayed Muhammad.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my question, first of all, I would like to thank all the presenters for their very informative presentations that they had. And I would like to ask my questions about one of the presenters who ran the classroom management. I think her name is Nourein, if I'm right. And, she talked about dealing with unacceptable behaviors in virtual classes. Okay, as you know, in face-to-face classroom, sessions, there are some students who try to disrupt the class. And as a teacher, we use some strategies in order to solve the problems. But I think the story is completely different when we want to talk about virtual classes. And suppose that, for example, I see a couple of students or more than or several students who try to disrupt my session. So would you please tell me which strategies that we can use, especially for virtual classes? You said that, for example, I see one of the students try to disrupt the class, and for example, I call her or his name, and then after the class, I try to talk to him or her. But I think in virtual classes, this situation or this technical strategy is not feasible, or it is not practical, because you cannot have a face-to-face interaction with those students. So what can we do? In this situation, how can we manage such problems in virtual classes?
Okay, thank you so much for your question. First, you have multiple options, online options. For example, in the MS Teams, if you are adjusting your settings, you find that you can control your students by muting them all. Okay, by not allowing anyone to unmute themselves until you approve this. So you have quite a lot of options concerning this. Also, if someone is so disruptive, you can expel him out of the class. Okay, so you can make him like go away. So you've got also that option. I hope this will be
short answers.
Yeah, this is a short answer. Yeah, but
Yes,
I believe that we all yeah,
Okay.
we all do this.
Maybe any one of the speakers want to answer? Israa, Amber?
Yeah.
I think, Amber, could you please unmute your mic?
Sorry. I would like to add on to this, there is an option in MS Teams that if the child is not behaving or not engaged, you want him to go from the class. But what I would suggest that you have to engage the child. There is a way in which you can engage them. You can ask some question. You can add on activity, because when you do a class in which there is no break, the children become bored, and they do want to do such thing which will disturb the teacher. So the class should be engaging, and there should be some activity and some jokes and some entertainment for the children as well. If you don't add that, of course the children are going to be bored, because sitting alone and looking at the screen is not what a child wants. They want an interactive classroom. They want interaction with their own friend. So always have a group activity in between your sessions. You can have groups of 4 students, and they can make their own chat boxes, and they can have their own chat for 5 minutes, and then you can add. This way you can keep the students engaged in the classroom. Thank you.
Okay, Israa.
Okay, thank you very much. So you mean that I'm sorry. So you mean that I'm sorry. You mean that we need to make our classroom interesting as much as possible, or engaging as much as possible.
Yes.
So
yes.
In this way,
I want to add something here. Yeah, can I?
Yes, please.
Yes. You have to know the learning styles. Okay, what is the learning style preferable for your students? So we have a variety of students with different learning styles. We have the kinesthetic style who likes to move around the class if we're in physical class. So we have also those who like visuals, and those who like audios, and those who are analytical. So you have to adjust your activities according to the learning style. You have to make a mixture of the learning styles while you are teaching. So I can use songs, I can use listening practices, I can use visuals like videos or pictures, and so on. Okay, I can make some games, use some games in classrooms, so to fit the kinesthetic style. Okay, so I believe that to build a good rapport with your students is very important. They will listen to you, and they will love you. They will accept anything from you. And also when you are preparing a well-established content with a variety of learning styles. So yeah, I believe that they will be so engaged and will not disrupt you anymore.
Yes, I agree with that. Yes, thank you very much.
Excuse me, can you give the chance for Isra? I think she's very familiar for using Microsoft Team at Princess Noura University, right?
Yes, well,
Yes.
it's not about Microsoft Teams actually. What I wanted to add to what
Yeah.
Ambreen and Breen say, because I totally agree with them. The key is in planning. As I
Okay.
told you earlier in the assessment, when you design an online assessment, you need to create a list of translating your activities and whatever you used to do when you were planning your face-to-face classes into online settings. So you have the same students that you used to have in regular classes. You already know them and you know their abilities, you know their skills, you know their learning styles. What you need to do is when you plan your lesson, you need to have your list of translating your activities in the class from face to face to online. Am I going to keep this activity the same? Am I going to change it? And you have to have a rationale. Why am I changing it or why am I not changing it? So the key comes from the planning from the very beginning. If you have a properly planned lesson where you can actually find the difference between face-to-face settings and online settings and provide or find this gap and fill it with the proper activities or proper planning, then you won't have such problems with your students. Of course, it's kind of difficult with lower grades to have them sitting in front of the screen the whole time. I face this problem with my kids. This is something like I've experienced it personally. But I've noticed that the teachers, my kids' teachers, the teachers who are very well planned, okay, have do not face this problem as much or as frequent as the teachers who use the same lesson plan that they used to have in the face-to-face setting.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I will move to Anwar. Could you please, okay, Sayed, mute yourself, please. Okay, Anwar, we are sorry to late.
No problem. Thank
Okay, please,
thank you.
Anwar,
Thank
just
you
I
very
want to
much.
tell you, Anwar, before you ask your question, please,
Yeah.
when you ask your question, mute yourself because you will hear the answers very well. I mean, it will be no IQ. I mean, okay? Okay, lovely.
Okay. After I ask my question, I'll mute myself. Right. Done. My question is from Miss Amber. See, since we were teaching face-to-face classes, we had bulk of teaching material. Now, we can't just throw them in a trash. Do you have any way, any way so that we can digitize them? Do you have any technology that you know that those worksheets can be utilized? Thank you.
Okay. What I understand from your question is that you are saying that there are a lot of resources which you have in your face-to-face classes which are in the form of paper. So how you can use it? There are different resources available online. Instead of using those paper books, you can use online books, online resources, and there are so many online activities available as well. You just have to organize that. Of course, we can use those books as a reference, and with that reference you have to inculcate that with the online resources available. So many new resources are available, as Israa has already sites with you. So use those resources, and the which you have is work as a resource. Like what I do with my students is they use those books as a resource, and then we inculcate that resource with our own online resource available, and then we create our assignment online assessments, and they do their online assessment, and I make them do their notebook assignments as well, which they can send me pictures. I'm talking about a junior level, because if I'm talking about the early years and the primary levels, the students use their notebooks as well, because for them we have to develop their handwriting skills as well. So these are the things in which you can use your online resource and use that resource as a resource. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber. Anwar, do you want to add something?
But what about the worksheet? What about the worksheet? Yeah. What about the worksheet that we have already created and we've been using it since long? I mean, how can we utilize them? Not talking about the books only that you can use them as resource. How can we digitize them?
It's very simple. You can, there are different ways of doing it. Those books which, if you have a proper worksheet, which are, you can get it in a JPJ and you can use that for the student. That resource in the form of a Word copy. That, of course, the effort is on your side. Otherwise, the you have, then you have to make them Word copies of those worksheets, and then you can share that worksheet with you.
Could you please unmute yourself? I mean, Amber.
Yes, please. So this is what I have to add over here.
Okay. Any answers from Israa? Israa or Nourein? Do you want to add? If Anwar, excuse me. Okay. Any other speakers want to add?
Actually, I want to say something. If I got it right from Mr. Anwar, you're talking about the worksheets and the how to expose your students to materials online, right? This is what I understand from your question. So, if this is the question, so we can use a lot of materials and a lot of sources on the internet. Okay, it's like Quizlet, okay, like Kahoot. When you want to assess your students on something that you have been teaching them, so you want to check their understanding of this content, so you will expose them to Kahoot, make them use Kahoot or Quizlet or some other websites, okay, that deal with this online materials, and it's synchronous actually. It's not only you can use it synchronously online or offline. So, thank you.
Israa, would you like to add something?
I just want to make sure that I got the question right. He is speaking about that the assessments or the questions or the worksheets that he has paper-based, and he wants to transform it into like tech-based or online, or to have it on a certain type of application, or on a certain using technology. He needs to introduce it to his students using technology. Well, if you don't have it, like Amreen said, if you don't have it already on a Word document, let's say, so it's not saved on your computer, there are various apps that you can use the camera with, and it can scan these pages for you and transform them into Word. They can actually read the words just like a scanner, and they can transform it into a Word document. I can't remember the name of the application now, but if you Google something like that, there are various applications that can do that. Yes, I think one of the attendees here said the CamScan. Yes, where you can actually transform it into Word, and then you can edit it or copy and paste it and use it in any other application.
Okay, thank you. Now let's go to Tahira. I think I'm right. Tahira, could you please unmute yourself, Tahira, and ask a question? Tahira? Tahira? If you have problem with your mic, so you can please write your question in the chat box. Tahira? Tahira? Okay, now let's move to Siam, Javis. So please unmute your mic. Yes.
Good afternoon, and thank you for all the three informative and useful sessions. And my question is on e-portfolios. I think it goes to Ms. Israa. Can I start the question?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. How much time is to be allotted or dedicated, ideally, for e-portfolios by a student and in a classroom and also for assessment? So there are three parts, like in a given semester, how much time is to be dedicated by a student for e-portfolios, and how much time to be utilized in a classroom, and also how much time is to be spared for assessment. And finally, what is the weight to be given for e-portfolios?
Okay, thank you. Very important questions. Now, first of all, e-portfolios, as I said earlier, can be used as an ongoing assessment. This is something that you can use throughout the whole semester, from the very beginning till the very end. When it comes to the timing for the student, as a teacher, you can plan to either do it with them live or synchronously during a live session, let's say like the session we're having now, and you can ask your students that every week or every 2 weeks, we are going to have one session together where you work on your e-portfolios. Okay, so if a student has a question regarding the content that they need to add in their e-portfolios or something, you would be with them online, live, and you can support them during doing their portfolios. So it can be something that you can do, as I said, once a week, bi-weekly, depending on how often do you want to assess your students. So this is when it comes to the time that you dedicate for e-portfolios with your students. Of course, they can work also on it asynchronously if they are like old enough, if they are college students, for example, and then they can send you messages or emails letting you know their progress and letting you know if they have any questions or concerns that they need to address to you. When it comes to you as a teacher, you can do the same thing. Like the day that they that you set for them that, to prepare their e-portfolio, for example, then in this case, the day after, as you as a teacher can go and take a look at their e-portfolios. The good thing about e-portfolios that you don't have to go through a lot of paperwork. The work is already chosen and the work is already there, so it's quite time saving for a teacher. So I guess if you dedicate, like, let's say 5 to 10 minutes for each student to check their work and check and get and assess them. So this can be done. If you do it on regular basis, you won't need more than 10 minutes per week per student. Another thing also, when it comes to the weight of assessment, it's totally up to you as a teacher. And of course, depending on the institution's policy. Like there are some institutions that formal exams, let's say, as a form of assessment. So this is something like mandatory, something that you cannot replace with e-portfolios. So in this case, it depends on your institute's policy on the percentage of the weight of each assessment. And according to that, you
Isra?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, now, right.
Okay. So in this case, it depends on you. You are the one, and you're, of course, you're depending on your institute's policy on the weight of the e-portfolio, the weight of the assessment mark, I mean.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Amber and Nourein, do you want, anyone wants to add? Anyone? Amber, do you want to add, or Nourein, to the question?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. She explained very well.
Okay, now we have Ikram. Please, could you unmute yourself? This is the last question.
Wonderful session is going here, and I am just learning a lot from you all. I just want to ask, we are here talking about the online assessment in the new digital era. So when we are taking the online assessment, there is a lot of chance for the cheating. My question is that how could we minimize the chance of cheating in the online assessment?
Well, the thing is, as I've mentioned earlier in the presentation, there are various ways that you can avoid plagiarism. It's not 100% like proof or like cheating proof, but again, it will help you tremendously minimize the chances of plagiarism or cheating. First of all, when you have an online assessment for your students, if you can do it live, like this is something that I've experienced with some schools here in Saudi Arabia. What they do is they transform the meeting or the Zoom meeting or the Microsoft Teams meeting into an exam room where students have their cameras on and the teacher have her camera on, and the teacher can check what the students are doing while they are having their exam. So this is something that you can apply, for example. And then in this case, you should make sure that your assessment time frame is within this session only. So once the session is finished, you should close or turn off accepting any further answers from your students. This is one thing. Another thing, if you can't do it live with your students, you can simply give them also a small window for them to answer their questions in, so they won't have time to cheat. So another school that I know of, they used to do this because they couldn't do it live with their students, where they set like a 20 or 30 minutes window for the exam, for their students to finish their exam at, and that's it. While on the other hand, I've seen schools who have their quizzes open for 5 or maybe 10 hours. And this is actually dangerous because this gives a huge chance for the students to cheat, to transfer information. And this is something that you need to avoid, along with having more than one version of the exam. So if you, let's say you have a classroom of 25 or 30 students, it would be good if you have 2 or 3 different versions of the same exam. It doesn't have to be different questions. It could be different order of questions. This is something also that we used to do at PNU. Okay, so I hope this helps. And these are like the ways that you can do if you don't have the option of being live with your students while they are doing their online assessment.
Okay, thank you. And now I think Tahira is back. Could you please unmute your mic, Tahira? Can you hear me? Tahira, you raise your hand.
Mr. Faisal.
Could you please check your mic, please?
Thanks to all of you for such a beneficial and informative time. Can you hear me?
Could you please repeat?
Can you repeat, please?
Yes, I'm asking. Can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay right now.
Okay. I'm asking that we are talking about the interactive and class desk meetings. So that's not big board and it will be an interactive. But I have faced an issue that when we have an interactive session, then it becomes time consuming and we are unable to finish our content within the time duration. So how can we tackle this issue?
Sorry, I forgot your name, but your question is very simple. It all revolves around your planning. When you plan properly, the time management is in your planning. Like for your lesson, then you have to have 10 minutes for your brainstorming in which you have an activity.
I'm not talking about I'm not talking about only a one lecture. Actually, my question is, if we have a heavy course content outline and we have to finish within 4 or 3 months, okay? Then we have to definitely divide that content according to each lesson. Then what we have to do?
Whatever you have to do, it has to be planned. It all revolves around your time management. How you have to engage your child, you have to allocate that time. Like for example, in every lesson, you have to allocate 5 to 10 minutes. That on you then, how do you plan that activity? It should not be a free time for them. It should be a planned activity for them, which you should be in control. They should involved in that activity, but you should have a control of that activity. Then you can control that time. And of course, the content which you are talking about, I understand that there is a lot of content which you have to cover in 3 months, but when online education, then the content has a different variety as well. Like you can use different resources for their self study as well, which will add on to your academic planning as well. So this is what I believe, that you have to plan properly, and according to your class, you should engage them in a activity.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone wants to add? Okay. Okay, guys, I think it's time. Okay, speakers, did you receive any question in the chat box? Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So, on behalf of Professional Development English Language Center, University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Ibri, I'd like to thank you all. Thank our guest speakers from Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan for their great presentations. And would like also to thank our participants from over 37 countries. Okay. And just I want to tell you that, if you filled out the feedback form, so our presenters will send me the PowerPoint. Just give me, within six working days. So we'll send you the recording and the certificates and the PowerPoint that our speakers will share with me. Okay, but I want to remind you, tomorrow we have another event, and we have great speakers, one from Brazil and one from Poland. So I will share the link for tomorrow, and it will be that same time at 11 Oman local time. Okay, and also I will send the invitation by email. Okay, now I will share the link for tomorrow event. And thank you all presenters, and thank you all participants, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, bye-bye. And clap to our presenters, please.
Goodbye, Allah. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Everyone was super. Everyone was super.
I already shared the link for tomorrow, please. And let's meet tomorrow at 11 Oman local time and meet our great speakers from Poland and Brazil. Okay, bye-bye. You can leave the chat if you want. You can copy the link, and tomorrow you can paste it and then join our event tomorrow.
Mr. Faisal, I just left for 2 minutes and then you explain how to.
Thank you very much.
How do we put our attendance? I didn't put mine.
Sorry?
I didn't put my attendance today for this. I didn't put my attendance for today's sessions, though I attended them.
Okay.
I gave my
because
feedback,
attendance and feedback link, I will share it again. It's in the chat box. Okay, let me share it again.
Yes, I've already given my feedback. So attendance and feedback is the same form?
Yeah, it's attendance and feedback.
It's done. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
Oh,
very
you're
much.
welcome. So no problem. Okay. Bye-bye, guys. I'm going to leave in the meeting.